Developing Amount Sense by Jeff Simpson at masterylearningsystems.com. This video focuses on kindergarten level amounts. But before we get to the lessons, here are some things for parents and teachers to consider. What exactly is amount sense? Well, let's look at some examples. How many buttons do you see? Most adults don't have to count them. They know there are 3 buttons simply by looking at them. You just used your amount sense, recognizing how many objects there are. 3. Well, the idea of 3 seems pretty simple, but 3 has more meanings than you might think. 3 can be a number on a player's jersey. There are not 3 of him. He's not the 3rd best. He's just player number 3. This kind of number has nothing to do with amount. A kindergartner might recognize the numeral 3, but not be able to count 3 buttons. 3 can be the number on a classroom door. Room number 3 might be the first classroom down the hall. This is not an amount. 3 can be a digit in your phone number. Most people never think of this as having anything to do with amount either. 3 can signify the 3rd in a series of objects. The hand is pointing to button number 3. But it is only one button. When we're adding 3 plus 3, the first group of buttons includes buttons number 1, 2, and 3. That's everything up to and including 3. This is an amount. But the second group includes buttons number 4, 5, and 6. The second amount, which definitely is 3, doesn't even include button number 3. And when we're multiplying 3 times 3, here's 3, 3, 3, we have 3 groups of 3, which makes 9 altogether. The idea of 3 is not so simple after all. Knowing this helps us be patient and watchful with students who are learning about amount for the very first time. To some students, telling amounts seems to be just a guessing game. When an adult holds up some fingers and asks, "How many?" they think they're supposed to guess one of the counting words. If the adult smiles, they guessed right. For some reason, though, the other kids usually guess right while they usually guess wrong. That makes them feel stupid and sometimes even anxious to avoid playing the game. These students do not understand the rationale behind identifying amounts, and explaining the process to them does not make it clear. The chocolate and vanilla lessons in this video help these students establish a fluent sense of amount by leading them to experience the simple logic behind it. Say the counting words in order as you touch the objects to be counted on a say one, touch one basis. When the things run out, the last number you said is what the amount is. There is only one prerequisite for this activity, the ability to say the first 5 counting words by rote. Students do not need to be able to write or even read numerals in order for this activity to make sense. Keep in mind, children are amazingly good at physical imitation, but they don't always understand the idea behind what they are able to imitate. Children are also incredibly good at verbal imitation, but they don't always understand the thinking behind what they have copied. These lessons on amount will use a guided doing approach, combining brief words and brief actions to create meaning. This must be done very carefully to achieve authentic results. The fact is, a child can hold up 10 fingers and say the word 10, without knowing what 10 means or recognizing it in any other contexts. So we'll proceed in such a way that we have evidence that each student fully understands what is being said and done. There is a time in every student's life when the only amount they know about is 1. This lesson begins at that point for those who may need it, but the techniques apply to the learning of greater amounts too. Have a copy of this page ready to show the class. You can find it on page 1-1, that's chapter 1, page 1, of my kindergarten math book. Or just make your own page that looks like it. My kindergarten math book is available online at masterylearningsystems.com, also at teacherspayteachers.com. Have a copy of this page ready too. It's on page 1-2 of my book. And make a copy of this page for each student. It's on page 1-5 of my book. 1 and 2 are the only amounts on the page. Sit on your big chair in front of the class with all the students sitting on the floor in rows facing you. Hold this page in front of your body so the class can see it. Gesturing to all the circles, say, "This is a picture of some cookies." Dragging your finger across the black circle, say, "These are the chocolate cookies." And these are the vanilla cookies. Count all the cookies with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make sure all the students are counting aloud with you as you slowly touch and count each cookie. You might wonder, why count all the cookies first? It is so the students can start with something familiar. They already have experience in mimicking the first 5 counting words in order. They just haven't attached any meaning to them yet. With the counting words echoing freshly in their mind, the stage is set for them to say the words again in the same order as they touch the chocolates. This tends to prevent them from guessing and from jumbling the order of the words as they count the objects. You're accomplishing 2 things here. Besides reviewing the counting words, you're demonstrating how to count with a sense of one-to-one correspondence. You touch a cookie, say a number. Touch a cookie, say a number. Touch one, say one, and so on. Now, count the chocolates with me. 1, 2. Make sure all the students are counting aloud with you as you slowly touch and count the 2 chocolates. When the chocolates run out, they have to stop counting. The last number they say aloud tells the amount of cookies. They're aware that they said 1, 2 aloud, and they're subliminally aware that they did not say 3, 4, 5. Now watch while I drag my finger across the chocolates and say 2. How many chocolates are there? 2 chocolates. Drag your finger across the chocolates as you say the word 2. This finger dragging action and the fact that you're saying 2 helps the students move from seeing the chocolates as a 1-2 amount to seeing the amount as just 2, which means everything up to and including 2. Now I'm going to call on a student to come here and count the cookies the way I did. Have the student sit on the floor in front of you so that she must reach up to touch the cookies. All the other students will be able to see the whole process clearly. Count all the cookies with me. Your finger touches the cookies from above while the student touches them from below, following your lead. You control the pace of counting, leading the student to say one, touch one. Say one, touch one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now count the chocolates with me. 1, 2. Now drag your finger and say 2. This part is the trickiest for some learners. You may need to take hold of the student's finger and drag it across the 2 chocolates, and then have the student do it again by himself. How many chocolates are there? 2. Together, drag your fingers across the 2 chocolates as you both say 2. Repeat this process with a few other students. Alternately, call on students who are likely to need your help and students who can perform without your guiding hand, who will reinforce the proper model for the other students to follow. Now, hold up your copy of the next page and ask, how many chocolates do you see now? They all recognize 1 chocolate. Touch it as you all say 1 together. The students do not need a counting process to determine that there is only 1 chocolate. We started the lesson with 2 chocolates in order to introduce the counting process, which will be used when discovering all the amounts greater than 2. Now, give a copy of this page to each student along with a blank piece of paper and have them sit at their tables or desks. Hold up your blank paper, everyone. Put your blank paper on your cookie page like this. Point to the first box on your cookie page like this. How many chocolates are in this box? 1, that's right. Point to the next box on your cookie page like this. Count all the cookies in that box with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good counting, everyone. Count the chocolates with me. 1, 2. Drag your finger and say 2. How many cookies are there? 2. Point to the next box on your cookie page, like this. How many chocolates are in this box? 1, that's correct. Point to the next box. Go through the 4 steps of the counting process with the students. You count all the cookies first, then count the chocolates, then drag your finger and say how many, and then answer the question, how many cookies are there? Point to the next box. I wonder how many chocolates are in this box. Do you think there's 1 or 2? 2? But we didn't count them yet. How did you know? Could you tell just by looking at them? Point to the last box on the bottom. How many chocolates are there? 1? Yes, that's right. Yay, you counted all the cookies. Everyone clap for yourselves. Yay. No, wait, I have a good idea. Everyone clap 2 times. Here, do it with me. Now do this slowly so they can sense the one-to-one correspondence. 1, 2. Well, I bet you never did that before. Watch for students who only heard your directions as blah, 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 clap, blah, blah, who just start clapping indiscriminately without considering that they're supposed to count and clap. It is not enough to provide the students with an activity that might lead to learning. You must make sure that every student gets the point of the lesson and performs properly. Model the activity with the student until he can perform it independently. Hey, here's something else you can do. Put up 2 fingers like this, or like this, depending on where you live. Help the children who are struggling and compliment those who have managed the coordination by themselves. You can also have the students hop twice, stomp twice, turn around twice, blink twice, draw and color 2 chocolate cookies, do 2 toe touches, take 2 giant steps, take 2 baby steps, eat 2 imaginary bugs, whack 2 monsters, and whatever else you can think of. Rather than counting 2 physical objects, this extended practice of two-ness involves doing something 2 times. You can engage the whole class in a couple of these activities, and then do more of them later with individuals or small groups that need more practice. The activities can feel like playing if you act as if you're improvising them, just made it up right on the spot. While the kindergartners are enjoying this stimulation of their imagination, they will actually be getting extended practice in following the teacher's directions. These games can be used again later for learning amounts greater than 2. Take your blank paper and move it over here so we can see the cookies on the other side of the page. Who would like to count the chocolates in the first box? Call on a student who's likely to need your help. Go through the 4 steps of the counting process with him. Call on other individual students to finish the rest of the page. Some learners quickly internalize the 4 steps of the counting process, but others will need you to verbally prompt the 4 steps for a longer period of time. At this point, most beginners easily recognize 2 as an amount. Most, but perhaps not all. Now it's time to pay attention to individual needs. Give the faster learners a bigger challenge so they can celebrate how well they're doing. Something like, tell me how many chocolates are on each box on the whole page. That's for you. Or have them move on to a more difficult lesson. Exceptionally advanced learners can have bigger challenges, such as, tell me how many vanillas are on each box of the page. Or even, tell how many chocolates and how many vanillas are in each box, and how many altogether. Give advanced challenges like these privately and quietly so that the other learners do not overhear and get confused. Give the slower learners a series of smaller challenges to build their accuracy, speed, and confidence. And remember, you can do this with amounts 3, 4, 5, and the larger amounts later. Okay, touch a box with 1 chocolate in it. Good. Find another box with 1 in it. Keep looking. Touch all the boxes that have 1. Can you find them all? While they're doing this, they're also noticing the not 1 amounts. You can do the same thing, focusing on the new amount. Touch a box with 2 chocolates in it. Can you find another box with 2 in it? Touch all the boxes that have 2. You can use the blank paper differently to give a fresh feel to learning tasks that are really the same. How many chocolates are in this box? How many in that box? Move your blank paper down. How many in this box? How many in that box? Move your paper down, and so on. If you still need to create more practice opportunities, work your way up from the bottom so they can see the bottom two boxes, and then the next two, and so on. Most students do not need this much practice, but it is good to be prepared for extreme cases. Also, you can use a variety of practice formats for providing freshness when you review the same lesson on the following days for students who tend to forget easily. Please note, the chocolate and vanilla lessons do not address the issue of numeral recognition. That's the written number. Numeral recognition is addressed in my YouTube video, Learning to Count to 10. This lesson began when the only amount the students knew about was 1. Now that they've acquired a sense of two-ness, they're ready to use the same approach for learning about 3. You'll need a page which shows 3 chocolates, 3 out of 5. And you use this to demonstrate for the whole class like you did at the beginning of the lesson. Then comes a page which contains only 2 and 3 chocolates, narrowly focusing on the amount that they just finished learning and the new amount that they're going to learn. Have the students use the 4-step counting process to gain fluency in recognizing the new amount, 3. Then you follow with a cumulative page which contains 1, 2, and 3 in random order. When the students demonstrate that they easily recognize the new amount, 3, and differentiate it easily from the previously learned amounts, then it's time to move on to 4, 5, 0, of course, has to be focused on, 6, and so on. Other types of practice formats for chocolate and vanilla are also available in my kindergarten math book. This one you can see, instead of all the chocolates being together, they're spread out and have to be counted with a different feel. Or they might go vertically instead of horizontally. These don't have the vanillas. These don't have the vanillas, and they are vertical. And you can have chocolates and vanillas with larger amounts as well. The chocolate and vanilla pages continue through the first 3 chapters of my kindergarten math book, interspersed with lots of other creative material, enabling students to become confidently familiar with amounts up to 10. My book's available online at masterylearningsystems.com and at teacherspayteachers.com. Well, now you've got the main ideas for how to use the chocolate and vanilla lessons to develop amount sense for your beginning learners. I wish you lots of joy and success with your students. Thanks for watching my video. Please share these ideas with people who can benefit from them.